Do you want Conqueror? These are the 6 Nightfalls you're gonna have to do. Hey gamers, welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna look at the 6 Nightfalls that you're gonna have to do on Grandmaster difficulty. And I'll try to give you some tips to go into those ready. So to start off, I'm gonna rep one of my favorite websites to use for triumphs and hidden triumphs that I don't actually know about since the API reveals them. And this is Destiny 2 Checklist. I highly recommend it. You sign in and you can actually look up other people's profiles and you can see what triumphs you have completed. You can see seasonal triumphs, seals, what triumphs are closest to, and then track some triumphs. So we're going to open up the seals category here. And as you see the Almighty, you can actually see the hidden triumph in here, hard-coded victory. But this is not available right now. It's going to be unlocked once the Pulg event evolves. Then we have Conquer right here, which has the 6 Grandmaster Nightfalls, which you can actually see what Nightfall is going to be. So we're going to break down each one of these individually and look at what some strategies we could use and what weapons we should use and what elements might be in that strike so we can be prepared for whatever Nightfall is coming this first week and the weeks to come. You can skip to the Nightfall you want to see by clicking the timestamps in the description or in the pinned comment. Before we get started, I want to recommend some basic tips. Mods. Minor, Major, and Boss Resist. Always. I'm pretty sure these provide a 15% protection, I might be wrong on that, against enemy fire. These are essential. Enemy specific mods. Taken, Hive, or Fallen Armaments or Barrier are juicy. Use those to your advantage. If you want to get fancy and maybe use some Warmind Cell mods, they can be extremely useful. Weapons. Ariana's Vow is the best feeling anti-barrier, and Divinity is, well, it's Divinity. LMGs with elements are great for shields like Delirium for Arc, Hammerhead for Void, and Edgewise for Solar, and they get the job done. Don't rely on a special weapon as your only source of a champion mod, and try to have more than one barrier mod wielding Guardian. Alright, let's jump into this. The site might not be in the order the Nightfalls will appear in, so I'm just going to go down the list, starting off with Inside Terminus, the one with the big old Cabal Scion, you know? Going off memory and without actually knowing what Grandmaster will entail, there are all types of shields in the strike. The majority of the shields are Void and Arc. Arc is in the beginning with some Harpies, and there's a lot of Void with the Minotaurs and the Cabal Incinerators, especially at the end. Usually there's a Cabal Centurion with a Solar Shield, but his most likely will be a champion like the Master version, so Solar is probably out of the question. My recommendation for this is to mainly look at that Void, with maybe one Arc user, which could even be your Divinity. The only sketchy part of this Nightfall will probably be the final room, so try to play around the outer ring and avoid the boss's Psionic Void firewalls, which will most likely do more damage with whatever modifier is enabled. Maybe do one plate at a time and this Nightfall should be fine. Next is Exodus Crash with everyone's favorite invisible boy. This Nightfall has 2 variants, the Vex version and the Fallen version. Either way, the shields in the Nightfall are very diverse. Minotaurs, if it's the Vex version, will have that Void shield, and Captains, if they aren't overloads, will have that Arc. There is also a special modifier that was on the strike for the Master Nightfall, which will give all Shanks solar shields, even the wanted enemy. The final room has 2 servitors with Void shields as well, which could now be barriers. What I recommend for this is 1. Check if that Solar Shield mod is on. If it is on Grandmaster, you're going to need a lot of Solar. If not, then Arc and Void with a focus on Void will get you through this. It wouldn't be a bad idea to even run the best gun in the game, Risk Runner, if you're having trouble. This could help you stay alive, especially in those areas with the Arc Zappy Zap floor. My only other recommendation is to not just focus on the boss in the final room. Clear everything, because nothing's worse than trying to run away and getting stuck on that Zappy Zap floor. Do you know what I mean? Next is the Arms Dealer with the Snipey Cabal Boy, one of D2's OG strikes. This one also has 2 variants. The first one is the Cabal, the All Cabal, you know what, just stop. And then there's the Fallen variant. These will determine what shields you're going to face the most. Right off the bat, you can actually tell which version it is by looking in and seeing if there's Cabal enemies there, and if there's some Fallen, then you know you got the Fallen version. But if it's the Cabal version, it's going to be more laid back. You're not going to have to deal with shields that much, except for maybe some Void Incinerators at the beginning and the wanted enemy, and which probably might just be unstoppable incinerators, and then maybe some solar Saturns throughout. But if you have the fallen version, you're going to need to focus heavy on that arc. The captains might all be overloads, but outside in the ship area we're going to enter, those captains might still be normal and have those arc shields. So all in all, I recommend that you take each area slow. There's a lot of snipers in this strike, and once you hit the boss, you can definitely get overwhelmed. If you can't nuke the boss, then I recommend killing every enemy that exists, and then picking up that solar ball, fuel cell, or whatever you get. Pick it up and then drop it so it spawns the next wave or the enemies at the depository. Then kill them, then deposit and make sure you're all set to go, and you should be fine. Next up is Warden of Nothing, known for the accidental double loot week, which was great. Please just make it an event. This Nightfall Unmastered was kind of crazy, and I'm curious how they're going to add even more champions. In this Nightfall, you will run into void shields on those Minotaurs and incinerators, but those will most likely be champs. The wanted enemy is the Colossus with the arc shield, and in the Prison of Elders era, there's a couple more void shields which you'll have on the Minotaur mini boss and the incinerator on their respective sides. The only concern for this fight, I'd say, is the final room. If you don't nuke the boss, waves will continue to spawn, and with those waves will be that mini boss as well. There's the big Centurion and the Minotaur, which will have their solar and their void shield. So overall, major recommendation is to focus on that void and solar, maybe with that divinity for the 1 or 2 arc shields, and then figure out if you want to nuke the boss or take it slow. Just don't commit and then fail, because then you're gonna have a lot of enemies to deal with. Otherwise, you should be fine. Next is the Broodhold strike on the Tangled Shore. This hive-based strike will have some fallen at the beginning, which is alright because they have arc shields which apply to both the captains and the hive knights. The wanted enemy will also have an arc shield in the room with the shriekers, which I recommend someone brings a sniper or a mountaintop for. The first encounter with the boss will have wizards with solar shields, so that will need to be covered. I believe void is almost non-existent, so you might not even have to run it, but running one would not hurt. One major, and I mean major, recommendation that I learned the hard way on the master difficulty is when you're crossing the bridge after the encounter with the shadow form of the boss, where the enemies start coming from the ground, 3, probably even more now, unstoppable ogres are gonna come out of the ground. It's really weird to see them come out of those tiny holes, and they're just gonna rush you. So try to bait that spawn and then fall back on the bridge and then take them out at a distance. The boss fight is kind of rather slow, and the champs will spawn about halfway through it. So just watch for that notification in the bottom left and you should be fine. This next Nightfall might be the hardest one. Tree of Probabilities with the Jetpack Cabal Boy has a boatload of champions at the end. Let's start with the shields. This strike has the Infinite Forest, which has random spawns, so there could technically be every type of shield in that area. After you leave, you have a Centurion or 2 with solar shields, and then most Colossi in the strike are going to be champions, so arc will only apply to the arc wanted enemy, which could either be a Colossus or a Harpy, depending if you get the Vex variant or not. If it is the Vex variant, you will find a lot of arc shielded Harpies at the end, and if it's not, you will find the void incinerators. So whatever variant you have, that is the major burn you're going to want to use. Either way, the final rooms are by far the hardest part, and this is where each enemy is practically a champion, so taking them out without letting others regen is really the hardest part. What I recommend is to bait one to fight and push you. This is usually the overload in the first room. He just comes right at you. Try to bring them around a corner and kill them by themselves, then focus on the next one. Don't try to focus on the barrier, realize you can't kill it because the overload's rushing you. The barrier is going to regen all its health, and you're going to have to focus on the overload, and you're going to get hit by the barrier, and it'll just get sloppy. Once you get to the boss room, the whole strike will become every man for themselves. Don't group up because a simple dive bomb move will send you either into a wall or off the map. So try to focus on getting the boss super low before that final room because you want to spend the least amount of time there. Just thinking about this on Grandmaster is scary, so hopefully it's not so bad. So that covers the 6 Nightfalls you're going to need to get Conqueror in Season of the Worthy. Hopefully this video helped to get people prepared or just mentally ready to see what's going to happen in this strike, what shields are there going to be, what enemies are there going to be, and how can I prepare before I go in and mess up, because that's what's going to happen. Anyway, Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, make sure to let me know, leave a comment down below, and subscribe. And maybe I'll catch you guys in the next video or guide. So, stay tuned.